Jacob August Riis was a U.S. journalist, photographer, and social reformer who demonstrated that cameras could not only provide a record of events, but could also be used as a tool for social awareness. Born in Ribe, Denmark, on May 3, 1849, Riis started out as a carpenter before becoming a journalist. He had a lot of trouble holding down a steady job and preferred outdoor activities over academic studies. After being rejected by his longtime romantic interest Elizabeth Gortz, Riis immigrated to the U.S. in 1870 at the age of 21. Riis's transition from Danish life to American life wasn't an easy one. He settled in New York City, where he still struggled with finding a decent occupation. Struggling with poverty, he began to realize that life in America wasn't the paradise that immigrants imagined, and started to preoccupy himself with the plight of the urban poor. In 1874, Riis's luck slowly began to turn around when he was hired as a reporter by the New York Sun. Because of his prior experience with low-income areas, he was able to cover stories that revolved around human disasters and financial difficulties. He became associated with the small newspaper and managed to buy the paper after he accumulated enough money. He sold it back to the original owners after turning it around for a profit. From there, he returned to Denmark for a short period of time, and it was there when Elizabeth Gortz finally accepted Riis's marriage proposal. Shortly after, the newlyweds returned to America. Upon Riis's return, he was hired as a police reporter by the New York Tribune, a major newspaper owned by political figure and editor Horace Greeley. Riis rose to the top as one of the leading crime reporters on the staff. For 15 years, Riis traveled to the slums of New York alongside police, investigating the lifestyle of the people that lived in these rough neighborhoods, particularly the area known as the Five Points, which was a lower Manhattan district ruled by gang members and criminals. Riis wrote many stories about these people, but readers of the newspaper had a hard time believing what he wrote. Many thought that Riis's work was an exaggeration. After hearing about the rumors, Riis decided to turn to photography to record what he saw. He viewed pictures as weapons of persuasion to aid in the implementation of social reform. But Riis ran into one problem as a starting photographer. The alleyways were too dark at night for his camera. It didn't stop him, though. Because Riis wanted to show the public about what went on in low-income areas, he became among one of the first photojournalists to implement the technique of German flashlight powder to brighten his scenes, which was highly dangerous and uncontrollable at the time. Riis's pictures were still dark in newsprint, so he decided to publish a book instead. How the Other Half Lives was released in 1890 and is still considered to be a collection of groundbreaking photojournalism today. In the book, Riis argued that social conditions held people back and challenged the assumptions that all poor people were morally corrupt. The photos shocked the American public, and they helped to inspire several campaigns for better housing codes and improved education. Riis's book became so popular that it caught the attention of former U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt. He had volunteered to help Riis's advocacy of social reformation, and the two men worked together for the next 20 years. Riis would later come out with another book, an autobiography called The Making of an American, in 1901. Riis devoted the rest of his life to social reform and created several institutions to help raise money for poor children. He retired on a farm in Massachusetts, where he died in 1914. Jacob Riis is important to photojournalism because he showed what a camera could do that a print newspaper couldn't, which is to provide imagery. His photojournalism exposed things that were shielded from view, and it's because he had a passion for social reform. Even still today, some photojournalists use their cameras as tools to expose hidden truths. Riis, like several photojournalists that existed during his time, helped to progress the innovations for both photography and for journalism.